The weight of your body softens into the bed, the air around you thick with quiet. Outside, the night sky stretches endlessly, dark, calm, and ancient. You close your eyes and breathe. You do not need to move to feel motion. Even now, everything around you, everything within you, drifts, shifts, expands. Space itself is stretching. It does not roar. It does not rush. It unfolds like a sigh, slow and steady, invisible to the eye. You would not notice it from your pillow, nor from your window. But out there, far beyond the moon, beyond the stars you can name, the fabric of the cosmos is gently pulling apart. You are part of it. Each cell in your body, each atom in your bones, is floating in this quiet tide. Galaxies that once huddled closer now drift away from one another. Not because they are moving through space, but because space is growing between them. Like islands on a rising sea, they seem to slide apart, carried not by engines, but by the breath of the universe itself. This breath has a name. We call it expansion. It is not new. It began long ago, nearly 14 billion years past, in a moment we call the Big Bang. But it was not an explosion, not fire or chaos. It was the beginning of space and time and everything. It was the first breath. And it has never fully exhaled. Even now, in this moment, the universe continues to expand. Quietly, steadily. You may wonder, if the stars are moving away, why does the night sky still look the same? Why does the moon still rise in rhythm? Why does your room, your home, your earth feel so still? Because this breath is vast. It does not stretch the spaces tightly held by gravity, not your room, not the earth, not even your galaxy. It stretches the distances between galaxies, where gravity has loosened its grip. Imagine dots drawn on a balloon. As the balloon inflates, the dots drift farther apart, not because they move, but because the space between them grows. You are not on a dot. You are in the balloon. And the breath that stretches it? That is what we are here to understand. You breathe again. The air in your lungs expands your chest and collapses again in rhythm. Your body understands this rhythm. Expansion, contraction, motion. And just like your breath, the universe once slowed, letting gravity pull things back. But not anymore. Now, the breath is deepening. We once thought the expansion might stop. That one day gravity would call the galaxies back, draw the stars closer again. Like breath returning to the body. But that is not what the universe has chosen. Instead, the expansion is not slowing. It is speeding up. A quiet acceleration. A runaway breath. No one expected it. Not even the wisest minds. Scientists had built telescopes to look far into the past, to measure how fast galaxies were moving away. They expected to find a slowing tide. Instead, they found a surprise. Galaxies were drifting apart faster than before. Not less motion, more. Something unseen was pushing the universe open. And it was not matter. Not the stars, or the dust, or the dark. It was something else entirely. Something that did not shine. Something that did not clump or cluster. Something that only made itself known by what it did, not what it was. We named it dark energy. Not because it is evil. Not because it is sinister. But because it is unknown, invisible and vast. A mystery woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. You cannot touch it. You cannot bottle it. You can only feel its presence through the widening of the world. And so, even as you rest, the universe grows around you. There is no edge to this growth. No wall or border. It is not a balloon in space. It is space. Every corner of the cosmos expands, from every point, in every direction. No center. No outside. Only more space and the quiet hum of being. Imagine a loaf of raisin bread in the oven. As it bakes, the dough rises. The raisins drift apart, not because they are moving, but because the dough around them expands. You are a raisin, and the dough is space. The oven is still warm. But where does this energy come from? How does space create more space? And what gives it the fuel to do so? These are questions even the stars cannot answer. We see the effects, but the source remains silent. Is it a property of space itself? A hidden field? A force that has always been? You are floating in that question. Dark energy is not a thing we can hold, but it holds the future of the universe. It is everywhere, not in clumps like matter, but smeared evenly across space. A soft pressure, pushing gently in all directions, creating more room for silence to grow. As you lie there, you begin to feel it, not as fear, but as awe. A gentle wonder, the knowing that you are part of something still becoming. The stars are not retreating. They are floating in a growing sea. And in that sea you drift, safe, small, and infinite. Every moment, the cosmos expands a little more. Every second, the distance grows between the galaxies. Not with sound, not with fire, but with breath, with stillness, with a force we do not understand, but cannot deny. And as your own breath slows, and your eyes begin to close, a thought rises like mist. If space itself can grow larger, then what exactly lies between the stars? You are floating now. The room around you has faded into shadow, and your mind drifts beyond walls, beyond ceilings, into open space. You pass through darkness that is not empty, through silence that hums with invisible tension. Stars gleam in the distance, ancient, quiet, burning like slow thoughts in the dark. They do not chase one another. They are not racing through space like comets or ships. They are held in place, suspended like lanterns above a still sea. And yet, the distance between them grows. You feel that space stretch like soft fabric pulled gently at the edges. Not a ripping, not a rush, just a widening, silent and steady. The stars are not running away. The space between them is expanding. This is a strange kind of movement. You were taught that movement means velocity, that something moves because it pushes off, gains speed, travels a path. But in the universe, some movement is not motion. It is creation, not a shift in position, a change in the fabric beneath. Space itself is growing. And the stars? They are like dots on a sleeping blanket slowly pulled taut. Each one drifts away from every other, not because they move, but because the blanket does. There is no wind, no explosion, only this quiet, relentless stretching. You drift deeper. Between the stars, the distance is not just measured in light years, but in time, in memory, in the pressure of something unseen. Dark energy does not push with hands or weight. It pushes with absence, with the quiet insistence of space that refuses to stay still. Look back for a moment. Imagine the early universe, close, dense, hot. Galaxies huddled closer. Gravity still mattered more than anything. It pulled galaxies toward each other, slowed the expansion like a hand on the brake. But that was before the silence grew stronger. Over time, something began to overpower gravity. Something in the very emptiness of space began to rise. Invisible, untouchable, yet vast. That pressure, that energy began to win. And the stars that once slowed their drift began to slide faster apart. You cannot see dark energy, but you can see what it does. It is there in the growing gap between distant galaxies. In the redshifted light that stretches as it travels. In the patterns of the cosmic web, those giant filaments of clustered galaxies, woven like threads through the universe, thinning at their edges. The farther you look, the more it reveals itself. Galaxies that are billions of light years away are not just distant, they are moving away faster than those nearby. Their light arrives stretched, softened. This is not because they are moving quickly. It is because the space between you and them has grown during the time it took their light to reach you. Light becomes a message, and dark energy is its translator. It whispers into the photons, lengthening their waves, cooling their color. A beam of starlight that began as blue arrives as red. Not because the star changed, but because the space through which the light traveled changed. Like a violin note stretched into a sigh. And so, as you drift farther into space, you do not move faster, but the space around you grows deeper. There is no center to this growth. No edge where it ends. Every point stretches. Every galaxy sees all others drifting away. You could be anywhere in the universe and feel this same quiet parting. It is like watching every shore drift away from every other. Imagine standing on a raft in an endless sea. You watch another raft on the horizon, and slowly, the water stretches between you. No current carries you. No sail drives you. Yet the distance grows. You are both still, but the sea is not. This is the space between stars. And it is not calm in the way silence is calm. It is calm in the way deep breath is calm. Slow, rhythmic, alive. It is alive with dark energy. Though we cannot see it, we estimate its presence. And what we've learned is this. Nearly 70% of the entire universe is made of this force. Not stars. Not planets. Not galaxies. Just space pressing outward. You feel small but not unimportant. Your body, your thoughts, your dreams, all of it unfolds in this larger rhythm. The rhythm of distance growing, of starlight stretching, of time slipping through open hands. It is humbling. And it is beautiful. You drift past a galaxy now. A spiral of gold and violet, twirling slowly like a leaf in windless air. You see other galaxies farther away, smaller, dimmer, nearly faded. One by one, they drift beyond reach. This is not a tragedy. It is a transformation. There will come a time, billions of years from now, when galaxies beyond our own will be too far for their light to reach us. The universe will grow so large that the night sky will seem emptier. Not because the stars are gone, but because they've floated too far. But tonight you can still see them. And you know the truth. The distance between stars is not just distance. It is history. It is energy. It is expansion itself. You lie back into the night, into thought, into wonder. You begin to realize space is not a backdrop. It is not the stage on which the universe plays out. It is the story. It is the character. It is the force. And the more space there is, the more space wants to exist. Dark energy may be the breath of the universe, yes. But it may also be its hunger. A hunger to stretch. To grow. To open wider and wider without end. And so, as your thoughts settle, you ask yourself one last question for tonight. If even perfect emptiness contains this invisible pressure, then what truly is nothing? You try to imagine it now. Nothing. Not silence. Not darkness. Not air. Just nothing. No sound, no weight, no shape or direction. A place without before or after. Without here or there. A space that holds no space at all. Your mind tries to picture it, a vast black canvas, an empty theater with the curtains closed. But even that is something. You cannot imagine nothing because you have never met it. Not truly. Even the darkest corners of space hum with invisible energy. Even the most empty vacuum is alive with possibility. The universe does not allow pure nothingness. Even in its quietest places, there is movement. There is tension. There is something. You are floating now between galaxies. You pass through a stretch of space that holds no stars, no planets, no glowing gas. It is the space between things. A vacuum, colder than ice, older than time. But it is not empty. There is something here. A whisper. A flicker. Not a sound, not a flash, but a presence. The vacuum itself trembles softly, like the surface of a pond when no one is watching. Physicists call this the quantum vacuum. It is not a void. It is a field, a kind of restless stillness. Particles flicker into being, then vanish again. They appear in pairs, matter and antimatter, before canceling each other out. These ghostly pairs do not last long enough to be seen, but they leave a trace. Space itself is alive. You imagine holding your breath and standing perfectly still. But even your stillness has heartbeat. The vacuum is the same. It looks calm, But inside it, fluctuations ripple endlessly. This is not fiction. This is quantum mechanics. It tells us that emptiness is never truly empty. That uncertainty lives at the core of everything. That even nothing has structure. It is as if the universe has a nervous system that never sleeps. And within this restless vacuum, there is dark energy. It is not trapped in atoms or galaxies. It is not bound to stars. It is woven into the structure of space itself, even the parts where no matter exists. You begin to see the difference. Dark matter holds galaxies together. It clumps and clusters, drawn to mass. It has weight, though we do not yet know its form. But dark energy is not drawn to mass. It fills the empty spaces, not stronger where things are dense, not weaker where things are thin, just constant, gentle, persistent, a faint pressure that never goes away. And somehow this pressure has weight. In Einstein's theory of general relativity, energy and mass are part of the same thread. Even energy with no obvious source can bend space, stretch time, influence the shape of the cosmos. So dark energy, despite being invisible, matters. You let that idea settle into your chest. A force with no particles, no edges, no sound, and yet it defines the fate of everything. It is not found in atoms, it is found in absence. Not in stars, but in the dark between them. This is the architecture of reality. Not bricks and beams, but fields and fluctuations. Not solid walls, but soft pressure. And here is something even stranger. The more space expands, the more space there is for dark energy to fill. Unlike matter, which spreads thinner as the universe grows, dark energy stays the same in every inch of space. So when space doubles, the amount of dark energy doubles with it. It is as if the act of expanding fuels more expansion. You begin to understand. This is why the universe's growth accelerates. Dark energy does not dilute. It multiplies. It feeds itself. You feel that quietly now, that endless feedback loop humming behind the stars. A slow, stubborn wind that never tires. A presence born not from what exists, but from the fabric between existence. It is deeply humbling. You have spent your life thinking of nothing as absence, as a blank. But now you understand, nothing is something. It is structure. It is breath. It is energy waiting to become real. Even the vacuum carries memory. In the earliest moments after the Big Bang, the vacuum was not as empty as it is now. It boiled with possibility, trembled with high energy. As the universe cooled, space became quieter, but it never became still. And perhaps that early energy never fully left. Some theories suggest that dark energy may be a kind of remnant, a leftover pressure from the way the universe first formed. Others imagine it as a field, like gravity or magnetism, that fills space with purpose but not presence. We do not yet know, but we feel its pull, or rather, its push. It is what keeps galaxies apart, what drives cosmic acceleration, what ensures that one day, distant galaxies will drift so far that their light can no longer reach us. Not because they are gone, but because they've floated too far into a growing void. You think of that again, the idea of nothing. And now you realize, it is not empty. It is pregnant with power. It is the quiet engine behind time itself. It is the canvas that paints its own expansion. You breathe out, and in the silence that follows, you feel not fear, but wonder. A kind of gentle awe that there is so much hidden in stillness. That absence is full of meaning. That the spaces between things may be more powerful than the things themselves. You are made of atoms. You are made of stardust. But you are also made of space. The spaces between your atoms. The gaps between your thoughts. The stillness between heartbeats. All of it rests inside the same fabric that holds the cosmos. And that fabric stretches. You turn your attention outward again, imagining the whole universe like a vast, breathing field where even nothing hums with potential. And now, A question rises softly in your thoughts. If nothing can create pressure, then what happens when that pressure begins to speed up time itself? You are still floating, but something is changing. The universe that once moved like breath, slow, steady, expanding gently, now feels different. The air around you does not push, yet you are being carried. Not by wind, not by force, but by space itself, stretching faster than before. You drift through a deep cosmic current, a quiet tide. It is not that galaxies are swimming. It is that the sea they float in is swelling beneath them, and it is swelling faster. The pace is picking up. You remember when the universe was young, when it burst into being, dense and bright, filled with fire and momentum. Everything flew outward, hot and wild, born of pressure and light. But that early rush slowed. Gravity, the quiet keeper of the cosmos, pulled at everything. Galaxies tugged on one another, trying to hold the great breath in. The expansion decelerated. Like a car coasting uphill, the universe slowed. That made sense. Gravity is always attractive, always pulling. It draws planets into orbits, holds moons in place, shapes stars from dust. If there was nothing else, only gravity and matter, then the universe should have continued slowing. Maybe even stopped. Maybe reversed. But that is not what happened. Instead, something else emerged. A counterbalance. An invisible pressure working in the opposite direction. It did not tug. It pushed. Not against stars. Not against matter. Against space itself. This was dark energy, and it changed everything. You feel it now, gentle but unrelenting. Like a whisper that gets louder not by shouting, but by staying constant while everything else fades. Dark energy did not start strong. But as the universe expanded and matter thinned, its quiet presence began to dominate. It began to win. Gravity weakens with distance. Its pull fades across space. But dark energy does not fade. It is constant, or close to it, no matter how large the universe becomes. And so, after billions of years of cosmic tug-of-war, gravity began to lose. And the universe began to speed up. You imagine it like this: two runners tied together, one pulling backward, the other drifting forward. At first, they move slowly. Then, one tires. The other gains pace. The cord stretches. The distance grows. That is what is happening to space. This is not just expansion. It is acceleration. The farther galaxies are from us, the faster they seem to move away. That movement is not because of their own engines. It is not momentum. It is because the space between us and them is expanding faster than before. You remember the balloon. Dots on its surface drift apart as the balloon inflates. But if the balloon begins to stretch faster and faster, those dots separate at ever greater speeds. One day, some may disappear from view entirely. That is what we are facing now. A future in which galaxies we see today will one day slip beyond the reach of our instruments, not because they vanish, but because light can no longer bridge the ever-widening distance. The universe will not end in fire. It will not collapse. It will grow cold, wide, and quiet. This is called the Big Freeze. A long future where expansion continues until galaxies are so far apart that their light no longer warms one another. Stars burn out. Matter spreads thin. Time stretches, silent and slow. But that is the far future. Tonight, you are still surrounded by stars. Still warmed by their light. Still carried by this strange and beautiful acceleration. And you begin to ask, what? Why is the universe not just expanding, but speeding up? What drives this invisible hand? Some believe dark energy is simply the nature of space, a kind of built-in pressure, a property of the vacuum. Like tension in a stretched string that never goes slack. Others imagine a mysterious field, spread across the cosmos, influencing everything it touches. And then there is lambda, the cosmological constant. A single value added by Einstein to balance his equations. At first, it was dismissed. Later, regretted. But now, it may be the quietest truth of all. A constant energy woven into the structure of space. You do not need to solve the mystery tonight. You only need to feel it. The acceleration. The breath that will not return. The growing space between every point. It is not chaos. It is rhythm. It is a kind of dance, slow, wide, ungraspable. The cosmos spinning out not in circles, but in expansion. Not toward anything, just outward. And you are part of that movement. Every atom in your body, every thought in your mind, all of it floats in this ever-quickening sea. You are not outside of it. You are inside it. And still, it raises a deeper question. If the universe is speeding up, what happens to the light that tries to cross it? You imagine a single beam of light. It begins in silence, born from the heart of a star deep within a distant galaxy. It carries warmth, color, memory. It travels fast, nearly unimaginably so, 300,000 kilometers every second, never slowing, never resting. And yet it stretches. Not because the light grows tired, not because it meets resistance, but because the space through which it travels is stretching beneath it. Like footsteps on an escalator slowly moving outward, the beam grows longer, softer, cooler. This is redshift. Light like sound comes in waves. Some waves are short and sharp, like blue, like heat, like urgency. Others are long and lazy, like red, like distance, like farewell. And when space expands, light is stretched with it. You picture it now. The beam of light leaves its star. Its waves are short, full of energy. But as it travels through space, that space stretches. So the light stretches too. Its wavelength grows. Its energy softens. By the time it reaches you, it has changed. It has aged. It has shifted toward red. This is not a trick. It is not illusion. It is a physical change. Just as a rubber band becomes thinner when pulled, light becomes longer when space expands. This redshift tells a story. It is how astronomers know the universe is expanding. They look at distant galaxies and measure their light. The farther away the galaxy, the redder its light appears. The more stretched its signal, the deeper its place in time. Because looking out is also looking back. The speed of light is fast, but not instant. When you look at the moon, you see it as it was a second ago. The sun? 8 minutes. A distant galaxy? Maybe 10 billion years. You are not just seeing distant places. You are seeing ancient ones. And the farther your gaze, the more stretched the light becomes. Not because it started that way, but because the space between you and the galaxy has expanded while the light was in flight. It is like sending a message across a canyon while the canyon grows. You shout. The sound travels. But as the gap widens, the echo takes longer and grows fainter. By the time it reaches the far side, your voice is changed. So too with light. You follow it now, this single photon, as it glides through the expanding universe. For billions of years it moves, untouched, unbroken. But the very road beneath it is lengthening. The distances double, triple, and the light stretches with them. It is not just that things are far. It is that the space itself is becoming more. And dark energy? It is the reason why. Without it, space might have stopped expanding, might have slowed, might have curled back in on itself. But dark energy keeps the stretching alive. It is why that photon keeps slowing, cooling, reddening. It is the unseen hand pulling time thin. You now realize, this gentle stretching of light is not a side effect. It is a signature, a fingerprint, a quiet way of saying, I was here. Dark energy cannot be seen, but it can be felt in the way light behaves. It leaves traces. In the oldest radiation, the cosmic microwave background, we see light stretched into faint warmth. In distant supernovae, we see flashes of light dimmed not by dust, but by distance, stretched across time. The more the light stretches, the more we know about the fabric it passed through. And in that fabric, you float. You think of your own breath now, the way it expands and contracts, the way your chest rises and falls without effort. That same rhythm, soft and slow, exists in the light of the universe. It breathes too. You feel that breath in the color of galaxies, in the tired steps of ancient photons, in the way deep space glows not with flame, but with memory. And now, you wonder, if light can stretch with space, can time stretch too? You have heard its name before. Lambda. A single Greek letter. Simple. Almost silent. But it carries within it one of the most profound mysteries the universe has ever offered. Lambda, the cosmological constant. You do not need to understand equations to feel its weight. Lambda is not loud. It does not flash or rumble. It is steady, subtle, a symbol that hums beneath the surface of space, like a note held too long for the ear to hear, but long enough for the universe to respond. To find it, you drift back again, not just through space, but through thought. It is the early 1900s. Albert Einstein has just reshaped how we understand the universe. His general theory of relativity tells us that gravity is not a force pulling across distance, but the bending of space and time itself. Mass curves space. Planets follow that curve. Time flows differently where the curve is deep. It is elegant, beautiful, complete. But Einstein feels something is missing. He looks around and sees a static universe, not expanding, not collapsing, just holding steady. His equations, though, tell a different story. They want the universe to move, to stretch or shrink. But nothing in the sky suggests that. So he adjusts them. He adds a term, constant, a balancing act, a quiet pressure that pushes outward, opposing gravity's inward pull. He names it lambda. Not a force, exactly. More like a breath inside space itself. The pressure that does not fade with distance. With it, the universe stands still. Einstein is satisfied, for a while. Then something shifts. Years pass. Telescopes improve. New discoveries come to light. And one day, astronomers look deeper into the night than ever before, and they see something unexpected. The universe is not static. It is expanding. And not just expanding, accelerating. The very fabric of space is stretching more and more with time. And suddenly, Einstein's constant, the one he had added out of fear, then dismissed out of regret, makes sense again. Maybe, just maybe, he had accidentally glimpsed the truth. You picture him now, standing by a window, papers in hand, chalk on his fingers. A man wrestling with the cosmos, haunted by a term he thought was a mistake. But perhaps, all along, the universe was whispering to him, and he nearly heard it. Lambda. A quiet pressure, woven into the equations that describe space itself. Not tied to stars or matter. Not fading with time. A part of the universe, as natural as gravity, as subtle as breath. You float alongside this idea. Could dark energy simply be lambda? A fixed energy in the vacuum of space, not because something caused it, but because space cannot be without it. Like tension in a drumhead. Like the surface of a soap bubble. The shape holds because the pressure must be there. You reach out not to grasp it, but to feel its outline. Lambda does not clump. It does not form galaxies. It does not slow with distance. It pushes. Gently. Constantly. Every cubic meter of space, no matter how empty, contains the same tiny amount of this energy. And the more space there is, the more lambda there is to push. It is not an explosion. It is not chaos. It is balance. The steady push against the pull of gravity. You drift again through the dark. Galaxies spiral far below. Nebulae shimmer like breathing ink. The sky is full of beauty. But the structure beneath it, the skeleton of space, is built not just from stars and matter, but from this silent pressure. You begin to understand. The cosmos is not only shaped by what is in it, but by what it is. Lambda is not just a placeholder in an equation. It is a character in the story. A voice. A law. And yet, its nature remains unknown. What is it? Is it energy tied to quantum fields? Is it something left over from the Big Bang? Is it constant? Or will it shift again as time unfolds? Some say it is like a horizon, always present, never quite reachable. Others say it is the simplest explanation. The vacuum, by its very nature, contains energy. It must. It cannot be truly empty. And if that is true, then lambda is not strange at all. It is natural. You feel a quiet comfort in that. That the cosmos is not just governed by gravity, not just by motion or mass, but by something softer. A built-in breath. A steady hand that does not rush, does not waver. It is as if space knows how to hold itself together and how to let itself grow. You lie back into the thought. If Einstein had trusted his equations, trusted that the universe did not need to stand still, he might have predicted the expansion long before it was observed. But perhaps that is how all discoveries work. The mind wanders. The universe responds. And in the space between them, a mystery unfolds. Lambda remains, for now, a letter in an equation. A symbol. Constant. But behind it stands a truth we are still learning to name. And now you ask, if space curves under gravity, what shape does it take when lambda pushes from within? You begin with something simple. A blanket. So, wrinkled. Spread across the floor. You tug at one edge and the folds ripple. You press a hand into its center and the fabric curves inward. Lift it and it sags like a hill under its own weight. Now, imagine the universe made of that blanket. But not just lying in space, it is space. Every star, every galaxy, every particle, stitched into the threads. The fabric is not resting on anything else. It is the thing everything else rests on. And that fabric can bend. This is not metaphor. This is physics. Einstein taught us that space is not rigid. It curves. Gravity is not a force that pulls things in. It is the result of objects moving along the curves of spacetime. The more mass something has, the deeper it bends the fabric. A star bends it. A black hole rips through it. Even your body, small as it may be, presses ever so slightly into this cosmic blanket. But what happens when the blanket expands? Not just stretched from the outside, but growing from within? You now picture a balloon. Not one floating in space, but a balloon as space. You take a marker and place dots all over its surface. Each dot is a galaxy. As you blow into the balloon, the surface stretches. The dots move apart, not because they are crawling across the surface, but because the surface is growing between them. Every dot sees every other dot drifting away. That is what the real universe does. It is not expanding into something. There is no outer edge, no center of the balloon. The expansion happens everywhere, all at once. Every galaxy, every corner of the cosmos, floats in a sea of increasing distance. And here, something subtle appears. The shape of the balloon, or the blanket, changes how everything behaves. If the universe has a curve, it affects how light travels. It changes the rules for angles, for distances, for fate itself. There are three possibilities. You lie back into them, one by one. First, a closed universe. Like a sphere. A finite surface with no edge. Travel far enough in one direction, and you might return to where you started. Space is curved inward. Triangles on this surface have angles that add up to more than 180 degrees. The expansion could one day stop and reverse. A great collapse. Second, an open universe. Like a saddle. Curved outward forever. Infinite and restless. Triangles here add up to less than 180 degrees. The universe expands eternally, thinning out into silence, but faster and faster as time moves on. No return. No edges. Just endless drift. Third, a flat universe. Like an infinite plane. No overall curvature. Parallel lines never meet. Triangles behave as you expect. Their angles sum to 180 degrees. This universe also expands forever, but with a balance so delicate it feels like a cosmic coincidence. And here is where dark energy speaks again. Its pressure affects that shape. Too little dark energy, and gravity would dominate, pulling the fabric inward, curving it into a closed sphere. Too much, and the universe would burst outward, growing in all directions like a runaway saddle. But measurements tell us something incredible. Our universe appears to be flat as we can measure, over scales far larger than galaxies. The angles add up. The geometry behaves. It is like walking across a vast plain, with no hills, no dips, no horizon in sight. This flatness is not simple. It means that the amount of dark energy in the universe is not random. It is tuned, balanced against matter and expansion in a delicate dance. You lie there, sensing it. Not just the shape of space, but the balance within it. Too much dark energy, and the universe would fly apart before galaxies could even form. Too little, and it would have collapsed long ago. But somehow, here you are, floating inside a universe that stretches but does not snap. That curves gently, but does not fall. It is like walking on the skin of a giant drum, feeling it tremble beneath your steps, never quite still, never quite breaking. And yet, this balance raises another question. If dark energy can determine the shape of the universe, then what else might it be shaping quietly behind the scenes? You begin by asking a simple question. What is the universe made of? You may think first of matter, of things you can touch, see, hold in your hands. Atoms, stars, earth, the glow of fire, the shimmer of a nebula, the weight of a planet beneath your feet. But this, it turns out, is only a sliver of the truth. A small sliver, just 5%. That is all the familiar stuff makes up, all the ordinary matter, all the elements on the periodic table, all the bodies in motion. Everything you have ever known is part of that thin slice. So what is the rest? You are floating now in a calm, invisible sea. The space around you is not empty, not truly. It is filled with things you cannot see. Some of it pulls, and some of it pushes. And neither behaves the way you would expect. These are the other two members of the cosmic trio, dark matter and dark energy. Together, they make up 95% of everything. You turn first to dark matter. It does not shine. It does not glow. It does not emit light or absorb it. But it has weight. It bends gravity. It anchors galaxies. You picture a spiral galaxy, a swirling disk of stars. The outer edges spin far too fast to be held by the visible matter alone. Something must be there, pulling inward, keeping the arms from flying apart. That something is dark matter. It surrounds galaxies like a halo, invisible scaffolding holding the structure together. Without it, galaxies would unravel. Stars would drift free. And yet, we have never touched it. We have never caught a particle of dark matter in a lab. We only see it through its effects, through the way it bends light from distant galaxies, through the way it makes things stay. It is like wind in the trees, unseen, but undeniably present. You now turn your thoughts to dark energy again. If dark matter is the quiet hand that holds everything together, dark energy is the quiet breath that pulls it all apart. They are opposites. Dark matter clumps. Dark energy smooths. Dark matter attracts. Dark energy repels. One creates gravity. The other fights it. And between them, a delicate balance forms the shape of everything you know. You lie back into this balance, not as a scientist, but as a traveler, floating between two invisible forces. One that binds, one that loosens. You are suspended in their quiet argument. Even your own galaxy, the Milky Way, is caught in this tug-of-war. Dark matter keeps its stars in orbit, keeps its arms held close. But dark energy works on the larger scales, on the gaps between galaxies. It stretches those gaps wider and wider. They do not cancel each other. They coexist. And you exist between them. For a long time, scientists believed the universe was mostly made of stars and gas. But the more they looked, the deeper they peered into the darkness, the more they realized. The cosmos is built from shadows. Not absence. Not emptiness. Just things we cannot yet hold. You think now about your own body. It is made of atoms. Protons, neutrons, electrons. Solid matter. But that matter is mostly space. Inside every atom is a nucleus surrounded by emptiness. The distance between the parts is vast relative to their size. Even within you, most of what exists is space. And that space is not still. It is filled with fields, with motion, with quantum activity. And beyond it, in the spaces between stars, between galaxies, the same pattern holds. Dark matter forms the invisible bones. Dark energy fills the lungs. Ordinary matter is just the skin, thin and bright. You breathe out slowly. The vastness does not feel cold. It feels carefully tuned, as if the universe is a chord and the dark components are notes we are only now beginning to hear. What happens if the balance shifts? What if dark energy grows stronger? What if dark matter begins to fade? What if the 5% we call familiar begins to fall out of step? We do not know. But tonight, the balance holds. Galaxies still spin. Stars still burn. And light still travels across the invisible scaffold of a universe that is larger than it seems. You lie between these forces, wondering, if dark matter holds the cosmos in place, and dark energy pulls it apart, what will the night sky look like, when the balance is no longer even? You open your eyes to a sky full of stars. Pinpricks of light, scattered across the dark like memories you almost forgot. Each one a sun. Each one a voice from the past. They shimmer, they blink. Some are blue and young. Others red, old and slow. Together, they weave a sky that has watched you your entire life. But this sky will not last forever. You breathe in. The air is still. But the space above is not. The stars you see tonight are only the closest. The galaxies beyond them, billions of light years away, are already drifting out of view. Not because they are fading, but because the space between you and them is growing too fast for their light to catch up. It is like standing on a raft in the middle of a widening ocean. Other rafts, once close, now drift past the horizon. Not because they move faster, but because the sea between you stretches endlessly. You wave to them, but one by one, they disappear into the blur. This is not science fiction. This is the real, inevitable future of a universe ruled by dark energy. You think back to the cosmic acceleration, the way space itself expands, faster with each passing moment. Every second, more space appears between galaxies. Every moment, the universe grows more empty, not because anything is taken away, but because distance becomes too wide to cross. There will come a time when distant galaxies are no longer visible, not to telescopes, not even to the deepest sensors. Their light will never reach us, because the fabric of space stretches faster than light can travel. And light has limits. You feel that quietly now. The idea that the universe may be full, but feel empty. That the stories carried by ancient starlight may one day fall silent, not because they stopped shining, but because they drifted too far into the expanding dark. It is not loss. It is separation. Galaxies do not vanish. They just cross a horizon that can never be reversed. You picture the future night sky, billions of years from now. The stars have burned out one by one. The nearby galaxies are gone from view. And Earth, if it still spins, lies under a velvet dome without stories. No shimmering clouds of Andromeda. No distant supernovae. Only black and memory. Astronomers of that far time, if any remain, will look up and see silence. They may think the universe is small, that it ends with the Milky Way, that no other galaxies exist. They will not know that the cosmos was once full of fire and distance. They will not know how wide it once stretched, unless we leave them a message. You feel the weight of that we live in a rare moment, a moment when the stars still speak, when galaxies still reach us. when the past still touches the present. Ours is the age of light, but it is slipping away. The more dark energy pushes, the faster space expands. And this expansion is not gentle anymore. It is rising like a tide with no moon to pull it back. Some theories suggest this will continue forever, an endless drift. Others imagine a final tearing, the big rip, where even atoms are pulled apart, where the expansion becomes so strong that nothing holds. We do not yet know. But we know this. The universe will grow lonelier. Not for you. Not tonight. But for the future. For the galaxies whose light will never arrive. For the explorers who may never know what we once saw so clearly. You look again at the sky. Andromeda, faint and wide, hovers just beyond the stars. You know it is moving closer, one of the few galaxies that will one day merge with ours. It defies the expansion, held by gravity too strong to stretch. But others, already gone. You think of them as ships sailing beyond the edge of light. They do not vanish. They simply outpace what we can know. Each one carries its own stars, its own planets, its own possibilities. They are part of the same story, just written on distant pages we can no longer reach. And that makes this moment precious. You are alive in a chapter where the universe still speaks in full sentences. The galaxies still whisper across time. The past still arrives. And yet you wonder, if light can leave and never return, then what remains to hold the memory of everything? You return to stillness. Not the stillness of emptiness, but of understanding. The kind that settles after a long journey. The kind that holds you softly when answers give way to wonder. The stars are still above you, but now you see them differently. Not just as lights in the sky, but as echoes of a universe in motion. Carried by currents you cannot touch, stretched by something ancient and invisible. That something has no name that truly fits. We call it dark energy. But it is not dark. It is not light either. It is not a shadow or a substance. It is a rhythm. A breath the universe takes without lungs. A force that needs no surface, no flame, no mass, and yet moves galaxies apart, one moment at a time. You listen now, not with ears, but with awareness. The silence speaks. It speaks of space expanding not around you, but with you. It tells of galaxies parting like slowly drifting snowflakes. It tells of photons stretched across time, of shapes you cannot see, of constants that hum at the edge of understanding. And through it all, dark energy persists. It does not flash or declare itself. It does not ask to be found. It only is. It has shaped everything, not by touching matter, but by shaping the stage on which matter moves. Not by force, but by tension. And maybe that is enough. You lie here, a small part of the story. A creature of atoms and memory, nestled inside a galaxy, which is itself wrapped in invisible scaffolding, floating through space that grows wider by the second. Your body is still, but your thoughts drift gently. You think of the breath again. The first expansion, the Big Bang, was not a noise, but a becoming. It was the beginning of space, not inside anything else, but birthing the canvas itself. And dark energy? It may have been present even then, quiet, patient, waiting. Not to start the fire, but to guide the ash. You feel a kind of peace in that even in a universe so large, so wild, so unknowable, there is rhythm. A soft insistence that continues without pause. The expansion is not frantic. It is slow, gentle, even graceful. And you are not apart from it. You are within it. Every breath you take happens in a body made of stardust, shaped by gravity, stretched across a backdrop defined by a force that has no face. And yet, that force allows everything else to be. You wonder now not just what dark energy is, but what it means. Does it mean the universe has an intention? Or is it simply what happens when space is given freedom to grow? Maybe it is not about purpose. Maybe it is about permission. About space being allowed to stretch, like a song being allowed to play. You cannot stop it, You cannot see it, but you can sense it in the redshift of galaxies, in the tilt of time, in the silence between stars, and in your own quiet thoughts. You lie here, breathing with a universe that breathes. It does not care that you are small. It does not need your understanding. But still, it offers a place for you to exist, to ask, to wonder, to float. And though you may never touch the heart of dark energy, you carry its rhythm in your sleep. It is the lullaby behind the galaxies, the hush behind motion, the stillness that grows. And now, you listen to that stillness. You let it rise around you like night. And as your breath slows, and your body softens, you drift not into darkness, but into expansion, into quiet, into mystery. And that mystery holds you, softly, like space itself, like time unfolding, like silence stretching outward without end.